You've talked about DNA, you've talked about light, you've talked about plants, you've talked about vibrations. I want you to tell me something about soil. If everything is been genetically modified and the soil is intact, tell me something about soil. What is the importance of soil?
The first revolution that ever happened on this planet, that brought human life into existence, was fought through soil. Microbial organisms, bacteria, algae came together, made this revolution of plants and what you can see growing today, which plants came up with the creation of oxygen, which they give off and breathe in carbon dioxide. If that plant hadn't been there and the plant revolution and microbial organism and fungus had not existed right in the beginning, which happened within the soil as a participant, there would have never been a human race. Because you cannot be on this planet without oxygen. And the plant and vegetation need your carbon dioxide you breathe out to come and feed them. So it is an interchanging system. This is where I've been saying life is a system. It is not an individual thing, neither is it money, but a system that connects almost everything, okay? So in this particular aspect of understanding soil, when you genetically modify food and you put it in the soil has your integral DNA. The soil makes the plants, and with all, you know, there are high frequency plants, high frequency fruits. I was talking about papaya or popo. You know, we call it popo, and then other people in Asia call it papaya, you know. So this papaya is a high frequency food. It is 12,000 years old. I'm giving an example. The soil is the one that keeps that integrity. You eat it, and the soil gives you this structure of solidified light, okay? And electromagnetic wave of this body structure that has blood within it. And upon death, since you've borrowed it, it grows even as the mother is eating, this structure is growing of electromagnetic wave and slowed down light. But where is it coming from? From the plants that the soil has made. That is how it keeps your integrity. And then it gives you all the DNA it has kept coming up. The seeds are put there by the birds, and then you get these seeds back into fruits and all that, and they go into the body. It is keeping the DNA for you intact so that you can connect with the environment around you through food. Now genetically, when you come to modify the food, do you know what happens? The soil now doesn't recognize the gene of the food that you have genetically modified. Do you know what it does? It begins to reject it, and it doesn't grow. And when it doesn't grow, since you have genetically modified, you have to bring chemicals, fertilizers that identify with your genetically modified fruit and plant, to pour it on the soil and deactivate the soil and let this one grow on the fertilizer. So when the fertilizer is out and the soil is also redeeming itself, then it means that will not grow. So you have to keep putting fertilizer, you know, for you to grow the genetically modified food. And in that process, you're deactivating the soil. But the soil can always redeem itself, because there is a certain professor, a doctor by the name Zach Bush. He was a professor in chemotherapy and making chemicals for chemotherapy. He discovered we've done all kinds of chemotherapy, and still we are not helping human beings. They are becoming worse and worse and worse. Then one time he goes and gets some soil that he thought had a lot of the ingredients which had recovered itself of a natural form. He got this soil and put it on a cancer cell. And you know what happened? It went into what we would call, it stopped growing. It was deactivated, the cancer cell. That is how important it is that almost every toxin you can think about can be neutralized in the soil. So what happens here is the soil is trying to heal the chemical as you put GMO. But you put the GMO plant and you're saying, hey, this GMO plant should grow as fast as possible. The soil is in the process of healing and trying to neutralize it and create a proper gene. And then in the process, you come and add manure and deactivate the soil. And this one grows with that manure and goes off, and then you eat it. And then when you eat it, you're also turned off, because you're turned on to the environment around you, activated to the DNA of the world of 13.5 billion years, like I said. And this activation is within the system all around you, is what is inside. So you begin to break yourself up. And you begin to know we cannot do anything without fertilizing the soil. But the soil has elements that even heal every disease we have. Can you imagine? That is how important the soil is.
Like I've seen during the pandemic, when somebody dies of Ebola or somebody dies of coronavirus, they rush you still back into the soil, but they never tell people never to go back where they have buried somebody. Which means the healing.
The soil has healing elements. Actually, it has a DNA frequency that actually is healing. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Remember when I talked about the ectoderm, the endoderm, and the mesoderm? Do you get what I'm trying to say? This also is a memory connected to the soil and the earth. Do you get it? It is a mind of its own that is connected to your mind. You remember I talked about the mesoderm and the tissue and how it is formed. What actually works with the mesoderm to make this tissue is the frequency of the light and DNA of the soil that makes this tissue that goes within your organs. Right from the womb. So the minute you are even putting as many chemicals as you don't even know what you're doing. That is how important soil is. So when we do projects as simple as like what we are doing with black soldier fly farming, and you try to make sure that the carcass of the black soldier fly the carcass of the black soldier fly can actually be used to form a top layer in the soil, so the soil recovers. The microbial-organisms work together in the same frequency with the soil and restore the integrity of the soil, to the point that we are able to eat the right foods that really support our bodily structure. Otherwise, the soil lends us its structure of support and survival, and we give it back at the point of death. So even when you die, the soil knows exactly what is its vibration and what it is not. It will sort it until it takes it back to exactly who you are.
Like I've seen the Asians, mostly the Arabs in the desert, they have discovered that you can either create sand or create soil. When you add organic matter into sand, it becomes the soil. So for us, what we are doing is removing every organic matter from soil.
And putting artificial chemicals, and in the process we are making sand out of soil. In other words, we are making infertile soil out of fertile soil. We are deactivating the DNA of the soil.
So what would be the best practice? What would be the best idea?
Like I said, we are giving an example because some of these things it's difficult for you to be a proponent for them when you've never done them. We're in the small island of Sese Islands in Uganda. I mean in a small area, really, although there are 84 islands. And we are trying to make sure now we have black soldier fly. When it goes through egg larva pupa and as it is eating, we are trying to get all the leftovers it has eaten from the waste and put it back on the soil. And we are trying to introduce this as a movement in different parts of Uganda to see, can you do something about the soil? Let us nurture it, let us not abuse it. And then we get up. We would not be needing manure if we did not have these genetically modified foods, because it is a give and take with the natural process. There would be something the plants give back, which is the leaves and the rotation and all that and the rotting, and then we take something back again from them. But now that system is no longer there, we have cut it up. So we really need to realize how far we are going, how far we are damaging ourselves, and that life is a system. There is no soil out there. Soil is you, and at the point of death, we give it back. It has been lent to us. That's how generous the soil is, and that is how loving it is. It will heal every disease that has affected a person. Otherwise, you would be, if someone has died of Ebola, someone has died of COVID, however much they bury them, it would be like, for us, we really bury in soil in most parts of Africa. So you'd find that this person has the disease, even when you go to plant there, that person grows up with the same disease, but the disease will no longer be a part of you the minute we bury. That is how healing and loving the soil is.